Well, joining us tonight, Republican strategist, George Washington University adjunct professor Cheri Jacobus, and editor of the National Review, syndicated columnist, commentator for the Fox News Channel, Rich Lowry. Good to have you both here.
Hello.
Cheri, this is quite a revelation. How much credence do you give it?
I give it a lot of credence. It's not a great revelation. We've heard these things before. I think it makes Hillary Clinton look good, frankly. Bill deserved it. We all know that. It's a reminder of all that. I think it actually probably helps her. Nowadays, if this were going on, they'd get their own reality show. So,
they do have their own reality show. We all have to live in it.
Yeah, it's an enduring reality show, is it not?
Yeah, I agree. It probably helps her because it creates sympathy. Everyone is going to think she was pushed to the limits of endurance and she was within her rights to throw anything she wanted at him. I think where she's most blameworthy is she was complicit all along in the efforts to smear these women who came forward and were inconvenient with stories about Bill Clinton's sexual peccadillos.
You know, people talk about the Clinton fatigue, referring to their fatigue particularly with Hillary, but is there not a fatigue just with all of these stories about the trailer park drama that seems to engulf this couple?
Well, we all know this because we've been following this for a long time, but that was a long time ago. We're going back, 20 years
Trust
here.
me,
but there's all these new voters. They kind of know it. The Clintons have done a pretty good job of scrubbing the internet of all this stuff. You have to
think
really
there's a generation of new folks wanting to hear more? There's a generation of people who don't
know about Whitewater. They would be like, who's Paula? Yeah, I kind of heard the name Paula. They don't know about Jennifer Flowers. They kind of know there was a Monica Lewinsky thing, but yeah, younger voters don't know what we know, and perhaps they should if it's useful.
Well, the president showing his, you might call it sensitivity or a thin skin, telling Scott Walker to bone up on his foreign policy and really get himself prepared to criticize the president before he does so. Yeah, why would he wouldn't he find normally that beneath him to do that?
There are many things that should be beneath him that he says and does, Lou. And he might as well, this will help Scott Walker, he might as well write a check to his campaign because this is great attention for Scott Walker. I'm sure he can send out fundraising emails over it. And the fact of the matter is Scott Walker is more knowledgeable and correct, at least, about this deal than the president is himself.
But did you see the statement that Walker put out, which I thought was brilliant? He reminded us all, he says, oh, yes, this is coming from a president who referred to ISIS as, the JV squad. And so he listed a couple of very big mistakes that the president has made that weren't just embarrassing, but perhaps deadly in some ways. And so he basically was able to make lemonade out of what the president had hoped would be lemons.
Well, Ted Cruz on Rand Paul saying this. His entry into the race will no doubt raise the bar of competition, help make us all stronger, ultimately ensure that the GOP nominee is equipped to beat Hillary Clinton and take back the White House for Republicans in 2016. Cruz was pretty wise and clever in his construction there, don't you think?
It's a very, very gracious thing to say. The question with Rand, he'll have that 15 or 20% built in of his dad's hardcore supporters. And the question is, can he build out from that? And the fact is there's just a very crowded field. He's going to have a lot of competition. He's not going to be the only one criticizing the Bush years on spending, not the only one talking about the Constitution, not the only one talking about limited government. So I think he has a hard row ahead of him. And what's most distinctive about him, foreign policy, now looks much more like a liability than it did a year ago.
It's interesting to me as I watch Republicans sort of react to what is a growing field, two whole first-term senators here. We've got a third on his way. The reality is that the Republicans right now seem to be resisting the growth in choices when they should be embracing it. There's it seems an inherent narrowness, a preference for a narrow field. They're going to have the opposite, aren't they?
Yeah, it's just a knee-jerk reaction to the fact that the Democrats seem to have won, Hillary Clinton. And Hillary doesn't even act like she really wants to run. She's now kind of has to because of this whole machine that's been built around her, but she doesn't have a lot of charisma or enthusiasm about it. But with regard to Rand Paul, look, he has to show people that he's not his dad. His dad was looked at as a little bit crazy, and I thought today he came off very well. I think that people will be open to him. He was talking about these Jack Kemp style, he calls them economic freedom zones. It's like the Jack Kemp urban enterprise zones. But this is what he's basing it on. So he's coming in pretty mainstream. I think it's going to be tough, but it certainly isn't impossible.
I think most Republican voters welcome the variety, welcome the choice, welcome the competition. The people that don't are the big donors that are flocking in a bizarre panic to Jeb Bush to get in on the ground floor of that operation.
They want it settled. They want this done.
Why this enthusiasm? Is it because that they have such a comfort level with him at the Business Roundtable?
He talks their language. They're scared, and to some extent, on the populist part of the Republican Party, and they see this as a return to a kind of pre-Tea Party era.
You know, when I hear populist, I always like to ask people, because they get excited about populism in the Republican Party. What is the antithetical of populist? You know, who are you for, if not for the people, right?
The backroom cigar smoke, the old-time image.
By George, I think we've made a point here. Cheri, thanks for being here. We appreciate it. Rich, thank you.
Thanks, Lou.